It really felt immersive. I felt like I was watching not the prequel series as in the 1999 series, but I was watching like A New Hope or something. There was just something about it where it felt really, really organic and it felt really good.
Like there's a scene in the first episode, and again, you see it in the trailer, where she's just like riding on a speeder and there's like a ship chasing her. And that's thrilling to see on its own. And that's what's fun, is that there's a spectacle to that. It is a show that warrants its existence. It warrants the story that it's telling, and it's carving out a part of the Star Wars galaxy that really feels like I want to know what's happening here. I want to know more. Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of Ahsoka. My name is Daniel. I am one of your hosts today, and joining alongside me is my fellow Sith, Shahbaz.
Oh.
Hello, Shahbaz.
I'm good. I didn't expect us to be Siths.
You know what? Listen, when Anthony's not here, we have to take over the Force.
Well, I mean, does that
it,
not mean that we've defeated the Sith if he's not here?
Okay, fine. We'll be Jedi. The two of us. There's always two, right?
Always
so
two.
That's why. Like the show starts, everything starts. Like there always has to be two. So
cut off one head, two more shall take his place. A famous Jedi quote.
Famous Jedi quote.
Famous Jedi quote.
Yes. Shahbaz, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about this show. I think there's a lot of excitement around Ahsoka right now, and rightfully so. I mean, a lot of fan casting, I think, went into the show, and I think a lot of it, ended up coming true. So there's a lot of fun things to talk about. But personally, I'm doing fantastic, and I'll tell you why really quickly. We have a really exciting week here on the movie podcast that I know you're going to get to, so I don't want to spoil it. But on top of that, we're having some great conversations right now in our Discord, which I know you're also going to get to. But it just makes me really happy to see.
Please tell us more about what this Discord is. I want to know more about
Tell
it.
the kids about Riz. Discord, basically we have a
Rizcord.
Riz. Damn. I don't know why I didn't even think of that. On our Discord right now, we're having some great conversations. So if you want to go ahead and join in, every day there's people joining in from across the globe. This round planet that we live on, any flat earthers are allowed to join as well, but just let you know, the world is round. I don't know why.
We'll make fun of you. Really.
We'll make fun of you.
Like with love, but we'll make fun of you.
Absolutely. So join in. We're having some great conversations about movies. People are really wanting to talk about Oppenheimer right now, so I don't blame you. Daniel, you and I have already seen it about 5-6 times already, so it's safe to say we like this movie.
I think so. Yeah.
I
think it's pretty safe to say that. Anthony too. I think Anthony's going for the record between all of us. Anthony,
Is he
every
really?
other day, I feel like Anthony's just like, yeah, I saw Oppenheimer again. I think he's gonna probably be. He's gonna have it 10 times by the end of this year.
Jeez,
somehow
he's gonna be an actual physicist by the end of it.
I think that's why he's going. He's like, I could either spend hundreds of thousands of dollars of going to Berkeley, or I could watch Oppenheimer 10 times.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, exactly. And what's great is that he's literally going in with a beaker set and everything also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I pictured him dressed like Beaker, like the Muppet, which is made me more happy. Yeah.
Maybe that as well. But with Ahsoka coming out, the Star Wars community really wants to chat about it. And one of the best places to do that is the movie podcast Discord channel. So the links and everything will be down below. You can find them anywhere. They're probably posted on, power lines outside. We have little, I've been going around the city and stapling a bunch of papers saying want to join our Discord, scan this QR code. We should probably do that.
You want some Rizcord? Join our Discord. That's where you're going to go to find it. That's your slogan now.
That's facts.
That's the new slogan. But yeah, you said this week, Shahbaz, we're going to get to Ahsoka very soon.
We will.
But this week is not only special because Ahsoka is premiering, it's because there is a celebration of fandom that is Fan Expo Canada taking place in Toronto, and the movie podcast is doing a live show. So if you plan on checking out Fan Expo, if you're there on Friday around noon, go to our Instagram page. Make sure you see exactly where our event is happening, because we're going to be there live. And not only is it going to be me, not only is it going to be Shay, not only is it going to be Anthony, we have a special guest joining us, Jay McCarrol. You know him, you love him from Nirvana, the band of the show. He's the composer of Blackberry, Kid Detective, so many other incredible projects. And we just got news today that, Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie is happening from Elevation Pictures. So we're just so excited. We're going to talk to him about all of that and more. This is going to be the live event of Fan Expo. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Shay, how you feeling about it?
I am so excited. Our last live event that we had back with Toronto Comic Con was such a blast, and obviously give a huge shout out to our friends over at Sonar Network for giving us
Yeah.
this opportunity, because it's great. It's something that we've always wanted to do. We wanted to connect with the fans, whether they're fans of us, whether they're fans of Jay, or anything. Maybe they're fan of podcasting. It's a great place
Yeah.
to kind
Why
of
not?
come and just and have a lot of fun. I mean, not last year, sorry, last time we did it, it was great. We saw people
It
dressed
feels
up.
like last year, right?
It
It was
does
only in
feel like
March.
it.
So,
It really
yeah.
does feel like it. But we have people dressed up as different Looney Tunes characters, and not because we're Looney Tunes characters, but because we had
We
Eric
are a little
Bauza.
bit. Yeah.
I'd say so. Yeah,
Yeah.
but we had Eric Bauza with us, so yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, this year Fan Expo, curious to see how it goes. We're going to be there with a lot of great people that are going to just be walking around. So, and if you're hearing this and you're going to be at Fan Expo, one thing I do want to let you know is if you do see us, come tag us, because we may have some stuff on us to give away. So, I mean, the movie podcast is all about giving and receiving and
Mhm.
receiving and giving. So why
Right,
not?
right.
Why not just come see us?
There's a lot of references to other shows and
A
movies
lot of shows
in
and
the
movies.
first 5 minutes, sorry, of this. Feels like 5 episodes. First 5 minutes
This is a
of
clip
this
show.
review.
That's why.
It is a clip show. It is. But let's get to the heart of it all. You know, this is the movie podcast. You can catch us on all social media platforms: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. There's so many places you can see all the great things that we're doing. So stay tuned for all of that. Check out our show notes below. You're going to see everything that you need to know about what we're talking about today. But make sure you're following us all on social media. That's where you're going to get all of the news, so you don't have to listen to all of us talking about this all the time. TIFF is coming up. That's going to be a whole other conversation down the road in a couple weeks, so stay tuned for all of the fun stuff. But today is all about Ahsoka, and I want to say thank you so much to our friends at Disney Studios Canada for inviting us to watch the first 2 episodes of the series. It is going to be premiering on August 23rd, well, technically on the 22nd, so if you're listening to this on the day of our episode release, because why not? You're big fans of the movie podcast. It's actually going to be premiering at 9 p.m. on the 22nd. So Disney finally has decided, you know what? We want people to watch our stuff on the East Coast at a half decent time, even on the West Coast, because, midnight and then 3 a.m. for us to watch stuff it's a little late. So
Yeah.
hopefully,
And it
it's a
doesn't
little
change
late.
for West Coast, which is great. Like West Coast still, midnight hits, they get to watch it. No,
Well,
6 o'clock.
Well, they get at 6 p.m. Yeah, they get even earlier.
I don't know how time works. I don't know if you knew that.
Right. Yeah. Well, Shay, you're doing some mathematics for like different, I think, dimensions.
I was
and
doing Northern West Coast time. That's my fault. It's a new
Northern
time
West
zone.
Coast time.
They're opening
It's
it up.
a new one.
They're opening it up next week.
Yeah, maybe that's something they'll deal with in a galaxy far, far away. But yes,
Oh.
Ahsoka is going to be premiering now at 9 p.m. on the 22nd with the first 2 episodes. So what really makes me happy about this is that we get to talk about these episodes. Of course, we're going to be spoiler free, and then as these episodes go week to week, we'll be talking about them in Discord and then on the main show as well too. So stay tuned for all of that and more. This is a stat cast, a show. The first episode is directed by Dave Filoni. It's written by Dave Filoni. Ahsoka is a character that is near and dear to his heart, and I think when I think back to the Star Wars lore and when the Clone Wars came out, Ahsoka was that character that really was the one that everyone wished we had in live action. Right? We wish that she was part of Revenge of the Sith. We wanted to know about Anakin's apprentice and all of that. And there's such a history there. And now with all these Star Wars shows, some have been amazing, some have been, hit and miss. But Ahsoka's been starting to pop up in them, in Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. And now we're getting her own show, which really feels more like a live action Rebels series, which we're going to talk about in a second. But Shahbaz, I'd love for you to start us off. Give us your first reactions to Ahsoka. Let us know what your mindset was going into the series, because I think you and I had a very interesting conversation about, the state of Star Wars, the state of shows on Disney Plus. So I would love for you to kind of tell me what was going right for you, what was going wrong for you, and where you were going into the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've definitely had some great conversations about what the state of Star Wars, what the state of really just Disney right now with their properties is. There seems to be just I can't blame them when you have such a rich library of content. You have so many great IPs. All you really want to do is consistently give fans something to eat. I think, this is a longer conversation for a main episode, but when you really dig down to it, it's like, okay, Or do we have now too much? Is it now more consumable? Is it now just, a place in time and then a blip on the radar and then you forget about it? I was nervous going into Ahsoka because I was like, man, we've been getting so much Star Wars stuff. Like, I don't know, is this going to relate to me? Is this going to really hit? I also haven't really watched Rebels or Clone Wars or anything. I'm familiar enough with the character, obviously seeing Ahsoka pop up in Mandalorian and then just everywhere else. You kind of like, okay, I think I know what I'm getting myself into. Am I super excited about it? Not sure yet. From the opening sequence of this episode, I was hooked, and I think the reason why I was falling so in love with this show was simply because there was a look and feel to it that felt like it wasn't just on a volume or on a screen. It really felt immersive. I felt like I was watching not the prequel series as in the 1999 series, but I was watching like a New Hope or something. There was just something about it where it felt really, really organic and it felt really good. And also, starting the show off with Ray Stevenson, rest in peace. He just really kind of sets the tone for what this show is going to become. He's fantastic. He's so good in everything that we see him in, and just where the show kind of picks up. I thought personally the show was moving at such a great pace, and everything looked so cool. Our first introduction to Ahsoka with the blades, and you've already seen this in the trailers, the spinning and everything, the lightsaber sequences, the duels, every character that we're kind of introduced to, Sabine. Everything about this show felt very engaging for me. It didn't feel slow. Even the parts that are meant to be slow felt like they were filled with enough exposition or filled with enough story to kind of make me interested in Karen and moving forward as well. I really like everyone that I got to see. Seeing Clancy Brown doing his best Mr. Krabs for some reason. No, I'm just kidding. He's not doing that in the show, but it was just it was. I was like,
why are you
well, that's
laughing
really
like that, Clancy?
really, really weird decision. SpongeBob. I'm like, oh, okay. Why is he yelling that? But of course, what I found really interesting though about the first two episodes that we got to see is there's not a lot of Ahsoka in there, and I say that sparingly because I think there's a really good amount, but the show focuses so much on these other characters that really kind of tie in this ragtag group of people. And I'm sure for someone like you, Daniel, who knows the story, who knows where they're kind of going, and the backgrounds of all these characters, it must be really interesting and really fun to kind of see them team up and get together. But that's what I love about this show, that it's not so heavily reliant on just Ahsoka. There's a team of people that are all as interesting as Ahsoka, and that's the one thing that I think with Mandalorian, it suffers in that if when your Mando's on screen, when Grogu's on screen, the show can kind of suffer, or sometimes you get too much of Mando on the screen that you're like, okay, I'm getting kind of bored.
Yeah, and again, Mando, he wears a helmet. Like, there's no facial expressions there, right? And that's where I think with Mandalorian, especially this last season, where there were some really great highs in season 3 of Mando, but I also feel like this last season, The Mandalorian, was so forgettable for me. Where when I think of like some of my peak moments of Star Wars in the last couple of years, have been those episodes where it's like Mando's episode on Book of Boba Fett is phenomenal. Right, like that is like one of the best episodes of Mando, and it's not even Mando's show; it's in Book of Boba Fett, which is funny. But yeah, we have Ahsoka now, just like what you said, Shay. Going into this, I'm so happy. I think Rosario Dawson is like perfect casting for who Ahsoka is. That's been the fan cast for years. So when she actually got the chance to put on the tentacles and do her thing, it's like, yeah, like I don't think they're called tentacles. They're called something. I don't know.
I don't know. It's not hair.
I don't know
so
what they're
at
called.
least that's what matters.
It's
right?
definitely not hair. No.
Yeah.
But it's but it's just like, yeah, like we're going into a time where we're getting a lot of Star Wars. We haven't gotten any Star Wars movies, but we've gotten a lot of Star Wars shows. It feels like every quarter we've gotten something. Be it Mandalorian, be it Bad Batch, be it Andor, be it one of the seasons of Mando or Book of Boba Fett. There's been a lot going on, right? So you're always just like, okay, is this going to be the one that hooks me? And Ahsoka is. And I'm so glad that, when I think back to Rebels is one of my all-time favorite, if not like my top 3 favorite Star Wars projects, right? I absolutely love Rebels. I love all of those characters. So Ahsoka felt like a reunion of these family members that I haven't seen in so long. And what it does really well is that it feels like it's like almost like putting the band back together, because everyone is separate right now. Like we have Hera, who's Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who's great, who's not given a lot in the first two episodes, but she's given enough of a presence where like, okay, I cannot wait to see how we're all going to kind of come together. Ahsoka, like you said, Shahbaz, she's not a huge focal point in these first two episodes, even though she is in it. The name of the show is called Ahsoka. But yeah, Rosario Dawson isn't given, I think, a huge amount to do just yet. Who is given a lot to do and who I really loved is Natasha Liu Bordizzo, who plays Sabine, who is just phenomenal. She is perfect as Sabine. And I think Sabine, being one of probably my favorite character from Rebels, is given so much to do, especially in those latter seasons. There's so much like history and lore to her that to see her in live action, to see what she's up to, and to get the call to action back to the story, I was stoked. And and having like these moments feel grounded and just thrilling. Like there's a scene in the first episode, and again you see it in the trailer, where she's just like riding on a speeder and there's like a ship chasing her, and that's thrilling to see on its own. And that's what's fun, is that there's a spectacle to that, and that alone is exciting. Like we take for granted now how incredible VFX can be, right? And then sometimes they just never feel like there's like a tangibleness to them. But when you see there's moments in the show, and you called out the scene with Ahsoka like fighting some of these droids and just killing it, like there's nothing more exciting than seeing a lightsaber fight that just has cool choreography but also feels gritty. And I think there's such great moments of that through the show. And these first two episodes give a lot of promise to what the rest of the series can be. And for someone who I was in love with Andor, I literally would wait up to 3 a.m. to watch Andor every week when I could watch it. I was so in love with that show. What we've gotten since what's from Star Wars has been like, oh, I'm an episode or two behind on Mando, or I'm a couple episodes behind the Bad Batch. I have to go back and watch this, because there never felt like there was an immediate need to dive into the story. Where now, especially with the show releasing on Tuesday nights, I'm like, I'm right there. I'm going to be watching it Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because it's appointment viewing. And I think that's what's so important. I think that's what is missing from streaming. And again, this is a larger conversation that we could have a whole other, topic on. But what streaming gave us was the ability to watch things whenever we want, get to it whenever we get to it. But that feeling of appointment viewing was gone. That a feeling of talking about something as it's happening, that really was that's what Twitter was at the beginning of when it first came out. And that would be a big thing for the younger listeners of the show. Again, 10 years ago, we're talking about 10 years plus. I go back and look at some of my tweets. I'm like, what am I talking about? I'm just like, every other minute I have like, I'm tweeting about something. I'm like, oh, I was talking about The Walking Dead, or I was talking about this other show that we are all watching together. And I don't know if that's going to happen again for Ahsoka, but it's nice to see. It's nice to have a show that feels like I want to tune into this every single week, and I want to see what the next part of the story is. And especially there's a moment in episode 1 that feels like the natural ending point, and I'm like, oh. And then it kept going for about another 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, that's an interesting spot, because it kind of felt like it could have been almost 3 episodes. But what we got after that, I was like, okay, I'm still on board. I'm getting more of this because I'm enjoying it a lot. But yeah, there's a lot that I've loved so much. And I think the music is phenomenal too. I think everything that we've gotten in the show feels like it is a show that warrants its existence. It warrants the story that it's telling, and it's carving out a part of the Star Wars galaxy that really feels like I want to know what's happening here. I want to know more.
Absolutely. And just correct me if I'm wrong, it's about 8 episodes this season?
It's going to be 8 episodes. I'm going to get the confirmation on that right now for you, because I literally was just looking at it.
No worries.
But
that's what I'm kind of seeing.
While I'm doing that, yeah. But while I'm doing that, you were talking about earlier with the Rogue One connection, which I think was funny.
Yeah, I mean, I was like looking at the cast list. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I wonder who's playing Thrawn. And I'm like, oh, Lars Mikkelsen. And I'm like, what are the odds? And I don't want to be that guy that's like, every white person's the same. I'm like, what are the odds that maybe he's related to Mads? Yep, Mads' brother. So I'm super excited. Obviously, Mads, who's been in the Star Wars universe as well with Rogue One. Really curious to see how that's going to play out. I've never really seen Lars act, not that I'm aware of. So
Yeah,
I'm very,
or his you haven't really seen him in the, because
and I
he did
haven't
Thrawn
seen
in the
him.
animated series too, right?
Which
So
is, I think, is so cool for them to do that.
yeah.
So I'm really, really curious to see how that kind of plays off. I mean, the last trailer that we got for this show as well, you heard Anakin in the background. I'm like, okay, Hayden
Mhm.
Christensen, is he gonna appear? Is he gonna be in an episode? Supposedly, we'll have to see what happens.
Friend of the show, Hayden
Friend
Christensen.
of the show as well. I am curious, and one of the things that we've discussed as well, Daniel, about the state of streaming as well. This is gonna sound a little off topic, but recently I was with some friends, and we like sometimes to watch trashy TV. We'll watch your reality shows, and I say trashy in the most positive of ways because the shows know
Of
what they
course.
are. And
Mhm.
we came across Love Island, which I feel like right now is that appointment viewing that you're talking about, because
Mhm.
all over my Twitter feed, all I see is Love Island, Love Island. And I was like, oh, cool, let me see an episode. So I watched an episode. I'm like, oh wow, that was not for me. You know what? I'm so glad people are enjoying it. I'm like, I wonder how many episodes this is, because Netflix is so particular about their shows being like, oh, we'll do 10 episodes or maybe 13 and that's it. First of all, Love Island is still on TV right now. It's still airing every couple days, whenever it is, and it's 36 episodes a season, each an hour long.
Jesus.
And I was like, oh my God, this is wild. Like, how 36 episodes. And then that started got me thinking about, like the state of streaming and how, well, they're not tied to the broadcasting rules of, oh, it has to be 22 episodes a season or
Right.
24 or whatever. So I don't know if Love Island is that way because it's premiering on TV. And I'm looking at Ahsoka right now, and this is the connection I was trying to make. We're looking at Ahsoka, it's about 8 episodes, and I'm curious, by the end of this, I'm sure we're gonna do a whole recap. Will it have justified 8 episodes? Because I feel like so far a lot of the streaming shows that we've been seeing have been like, okay, that could have been 6, or that could have been
Yeah.
7, or just under 8. So eight is an interesting number. I'm curious if it's going to hit that, if it's going to need it. That's what I'm really curious about by the end of our watch of the whole show.
Yeah, and then you look at Andor. Andor, I believe, was 12 episodes.
Well deserved.
So it's like,
it had
right,
so
and
much
I'm like,
to tell.
give me more, and you have another 12 episodes coming for season 2.
Yeah.
But you're so right. I'm like, is 8 episodes? That's 8 hours of television. We're going to tell the story, because again, with streaming, we're getting these stories that feel like the most important things happen in the last episode, and everything that lead up to it are just, some cool moments. But it's really that last episode where we're getting something that's like, okay, now the page is turned.
Yeah.
Now we're getting that it's worth it. But I think right out the gate, Ahsoka sets what this series is going to be up to be,
Mhm.
And looking for Ezra, going down that rabbit hole of just like getting this band back together, and just looking good and having fun while doing it, because that's so much fun watching this show, right? I mentioned the composer earlier. Kevin Kiner is the name
Mhm.
of the gentleman, and he's also the composer for Rebels, for Clone Wars, for Bad Batch, Tales of the Jedi. So he's a veteran of the Star Wars galaxy. So it's nice to see him back and scoring something in live action, because it's phenomenal music.
I love that. The music is great. It has a classic Star Wars feel. The show overall just looks great, feels great. Yeah, I'm having a great time with it. I'm really curious. Like you said, I'm going to be watching every Tuesday as well. I'm really curious to see were the first episodes just really fantastic and then the rest kind of falls, or is it continue the streak? And I'm really hoping it continues the streak.
I'm hopeful. This is Dave Filoni really just, coming out swinging again. Like, he's writing all the episodes of Ahsoka, so it's amazing to see, like, just Dave doing his thing. He's at a point with Star Wars now where it's like he is the George Lucas that is shepherding this world forward, and obviously with Jon Favreau and everything that they've done for Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and all of these series. Again, bigger conversation. That's the theme of this episode right now. But I'm so excited to see at the end of the series, what does it mean for Star Wars entertainment? Do we need Star Wars movies? I miss Star Wars movies.
I miss them
You know what I
too.
mean? It's been so long since we've had a Star Wars movie, 4 years. That's a huge gap of time. And by the time we actually get one, I think it's scheduled for 2025. I mean, if it happens, if it doesn't happen. One of the funny things with Star Wars, though, is because we are spanning such a large, period of time, it's just like, yeah, like, it'd be so cool to have all these characters that you love, almost like, I'm thinking almost like a mobile game where it's like, here's these characters from all these different eras of Star Wars together. You almost want to see them all team up because it's so the timelines are so stretched far out. And you're also getting to a point where it's like, okay, like with the Obi-Wan series last year, it's like there's another, like Deborah Chow is teasing. I'm like, yeah, there's another story that we want to tell for season 2, but you also know where a lot of these shows, have filled in the gaps, what Clone
Right.
Wars have did, what Rebels have done with closing in the gaps of people's stories, that now you're like, okay, are we going to try and tiptoe around that? Are we adding this whole other thing that feels out of place? So there's a lot of opportunities to tell stories, but you also don't want it to feel like you're, retconning or changing things up too much from the original stories that we love.
Or
What
just
we've
giving
seen so
filler.
far or just making it filler. Exactly that. What we've gone from the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, I think for both of us, we've liked it a lot, and it's
Yeah.
a lot of fun, and it's something that is getting us really excited about Star Wars. And I'm hoping at Fan Expo this week, we get to talk to a lot of you about it. Let us know if you watched it. Like Shay said, if you see us, stop us. We're giving away stuff. We're giving away stuff that's pretty cool. So, say hi to us and let's talk about the show. Join our Discord. There's lots to go on. Shay, let's get to our final recommendations. I'm going to get you to start us off. What would you like to tell the fine people as your final thoughts on Ahsoka?
I mean, you know how it goes when it comes to TV shows with us, and especially a show that still hasn't really come out yet and is still continuing. I would say as of right now, if you're a fan of Star Wars, and there's a lot of fans of Star Wars out there, it's not a small community, you're going to be watching this, and I think you're going to be really surprised, and you're going to really enjoy it. I still think for me right now, in terms of the Star Wars shows, Andor is number one. Like, that show
Oh,
was
yeah.
incredible. But I generally think Ahsoka is just right under it for me. So I'm very, very excited to see where it goes. The chases, the duels are very interesting. I'm also looking at the directors list, and I'm like, wow, these are all very interesting directors we're getting. Obviously, we have Dave Filoni and Rick Famuyiwa coming back to the show, and also friend of the show as well. But then I'm seeing someone like Peter Ramsey, who was one of the directors for the first Into the Spider-Verse. He's directing an episode as well. So there's a lot of great people. You have Jennifer Getzinger, Geeta Vasant Patel, a lot of great directors kind of coming in that hopefully will just integrate their expertise or their style. So I'm really curious to see where it goes. And I'm excited. I think people are going to be watching this show a lot. And if you do watch it, remember to join the Discord and have the conversation, continue it there.
I love it. I'm right there with you. If this is a Star Wars fan, if you're a Star Wars fan, this is a must-watch show. Jump in. You're getting the first 2 episodes this week, so you're really going to get a taste for what's to come going forward. I love that we are getting 2 episodes. I think when you get 2 episodes of the show, it really invests you into it more, because the first episode on its own is great, but when you get that second episode as an immediate follow-up, you're getting a bigger picture of where things are going. And I think it's really going to get you on board the Ahsoka train, because you're going to want to watch it.
Especially with how the first episode ends. Like, it ends in a way where we're like, oh, okay.
How dare you make me wait a week for this?
I almost, like, selfishly in a way, I was like, I kind of wish I didn't have a second episode, because I'm on the edge now. Like, I want to know. So I'm really curious, even though episode 2 also ends great as well. Episode 1's ending is like, oh, well, now you caught my curiosity.
It's great. And if you want to know what we're talking about, of course, make sure you're joining the Discord. Make sure you're following us on all social media platforms at The Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. Check out our show notes below for all of the links you need to know. And we're just so happy to be doing the show that we absolutely love doing. There's so much to look forward to. We have TIFF coming up. We have a live show at Fan Expo on Friday. Make sure you're there. Make sure you're in the audience. Let us know, like, when you started listening to us, when you join the Discord. Also, let us know, hey, I listened to this episode. That's why I'm joining. We love learning that, because we want to know where you're from, what you're doing, your blood type. We want to know all of that.
We do.
Not the blood type.
We do.
I want the blood type.
I want to know.
Oh, well, Shay wants to know. But yeah, we want to know more about, like, how you found the show. What episode was it, where you're listening from. That means the world to us. But please, if you're at Fan Expo this week, you have some time on Friday, make sure you join us in the theater room. Again, show notes below. We're going to have the links to everything you need to know where our live show is happening at Fan Expo on Friday, 12 p.m. Be there. You don't want to miss it. And I want to say thank you again to our friends at Disney Studios Canada for inviting us to watch the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka. We know they're going to be at Fan Expo as well, doing some cool installation stuff there, so you don't want to miss it. It's going to be an incredible weekend. This is one of the best weekends of the summer, because it really is just a celebration of all the things that we love here. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. That was this time with the Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.